In the summer of 1940, after conquering most of Europe in just months, Hitler believed Britain would be next. He expected surrender. He expected fear. He expected the island nation to collapse like France had. But instead of giving up, Britain prepared to fight the most important air battle in history, a battle fought not by armies or navies, but by a small group of pilots flying outdated planes against the most powerful air force on Earth. For the first time, Germany's blitzkrieg hit a wall. For the first time, Hitler's advance was stopped. This is the Battle of Britain. Why the battle began? After the evacuation at Dunkirk, Britain was shaken and nearly defenseless. Most of its heavy equipment was abandoned in France, and practically all of Europe had fallen to Germany. Hitler believed Britain would accept defeat and negotiate peace. But Winston Churchill refused, declaring that Britain would never surrender. Since a ground invasion was impossible while the RAF controlled the skies, Hitler shifted to a new strategy: win air superiority. Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion of Britain, depended entirely on destroying the RAF. If Germany dominated the air over the English Channel, Britain could be invaded quickly. Confident in its size, experience, and momentum, the Luftwaffe prepared to crush British air defenses and force the nation into submission. This decision marked the beginning of the Battle of Britain. The odds against Britain. The situation looked hopeless for Britain in mid-1940. Germany possessed nearly 2,700 aircraft, including fighters, dive bombers, and heavy bombers. In contrast, Britain had roughly 700 modern fighters ready to protect the entire country. German pilots were experienced veterans who had fought in Poland, France, and Norway. Many RAF pilots, however, were barely trained teenagers who had never seen real combat. Britain's airfields, factories, and cities were located within easy reach of German bases in occupied France, giving the Luftwaffe a major advantage. German commanders believed they would destroy the RAF in just 4 weeks. But Britain had key advantages: radar warning systems, strong leadership, and unmatched determination. Despite the odds, the RAF resisted fiercely, and what Germany expected to be a month-long campaign turned into a 4-month struggle, ending in German defeat. The first phase, the Channel Fight. In July 1940, German forces launched attacks on shipping in the English Channel. Their goal was simple: draw RAF fighters into combat and weaken them before launching a full-scale assault. Dogfights erupted above the water almost daily as Spitfires and Hurricanes raced to protect British convoys. Many pilots never returned, and losses mounted on both sides. Yet, the RAF held firm. Though heavily outnumbered, they were skilled and determined. Britain's radar network proved crucial. It detected incoming raids early, allowing RAF fighters to scramble at the perfect moment. This prevented unnecessary patrols and saved fuel, planes, and pilots. The Luftwaffe underestimated this technology, believing the RAF was simply lucky. As the fighting intensified, both sides prepared for a larger confrontation. These early clashes set the stage for the decisive phase of the Battle of Britain: the assault on airfields. In August 1940, Germany launched Adlertag, Eagle Day, the start of its major offensive. Hundreds of German bombers and fighters crossed the Channel, targeting RAF airfields, hangars, and radar stations. This was the most critical stage of the battle. If the RAF lost its airfields, it would lose the war. Every day, pilots endured a relentless cycle: take off, fight, land, refuel, and take off again. Some flew multiple missions daily, exhausted but determined. Several airfields were heavily damaged, and Britain suffered increasing losses of planes and trained pilots. The situation became extremely dangerous. But despite the pressure, RAF defenses never collapsed. Then Germany made a fatal mistake, shifting its focus away from airfields. This decision gave the RAF time to repair bases, reorganize squadrons, and regain strength, ultimately changing the course of the battle. The Blitz begins. On September 7th, after Britain bombed Berlin, Hitler became furious and ordered a drastic change in strategy. Instead of targeting RAF airfields, the Luftwaffe was instructed to bomb London and other major cities. This shift unexpectedly saved the RAF. With less pressure on their bases, fighter squadrons repaired runways, rebuilt damaged hangars, and rotated exhausted pilots. Germany believed that bombing civilians would break British morale and force the government to surrender. But the opposite happened. The bombings united the British people. Families sheltered in underground tunnels, while firefighters and rescue workers battled endless fires each night. Despite the destruction, the RAF kept flying, determined to protect the country. Germany's decision to attack cities instead of airfields marked a turning point that allowed Britain to survive the darkest phase of the war. The fighter pilots. The Battle of Britain was ultimately won by the courage of its pilots, not just by machines or tactics. These men came from across the Commonwealth in Europe, Britain, Poland, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and Czechoslovakia. Many had lost their own countries to Nazi occupation and refused to stop fighting. They flew Spitfires and Hurricanes against waves of German Messerschmitts, often taking off multiple times a day despite exhaustion, hunger, or injury. Their survival chances were low, yet they continued to defend the skies. Churchill later honored them with the famous words, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." These pilots were not superheroes. They were young, frightened, and outnumbered. But their determination shaped the outcome of the entire war. The turning point. By late September, the tide had turned. Germany was losing too many aircraft, and, more importantly, too many experienced pilots. The Luftwaffe was stretched thin, flying long missions over Britain that drained fuel and limited how long fighters could stay in combat. Meanwhile, RAF pilots fought above their own territory, giving them more time in the air and better chances of rescue if shot down. On September 15th, Britain shot down 56 German planes in a single day, proving Germany was no longer winning the battle. Without air superiority, Hitler had no path to invade Britain. Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion, was postponed and eventually canceled quietly. The failure to dominate the skies marked Germany's first major defeat of the war. Britain had survived, and the skies officially belonged to the RAF. Closing scene. The Battle of Britain wasn't just an air campaign. It was the moment the course of World War II shifted. If Britain had fallen in 1940, Europe would have been lost. The United States would have had no base of operations. There would have been no D-Day, no liberation, no turning of a tide. The RAF didn't just defend a country. They defended the future. Against overwhelming odds, outnumbered and exhausted, the pilots of the Battle of Britain stood their ground. And for the first time in the war, Hitler was stopped.